Garad cries over mountain skies, the call of the ancestors looking over Nura. The Warada, the blood of this land, echoes the call back, vibrant and strong, their old ones still here.
Hello, my name is Chloe Webb. I am a proud Burruburronga woman and contemporary Aboriginal artist and digital illustrator. So we're here on beautiful Darganjung Guringai country, which is a little bit away from Darug, but that beautiful ocean that we have outside there flows directly into Dearubin, which is the beautiful sacred river of the Darug people. So I never feel too far away, really, especially when I hop in the ocean, I just feel it right there. So country's always with me, and I think that is definitely something that can be seen in my artwork, and definitely my art is the place that I connect to that as well. No one around me was really making, I think my dad's a musician, but he was quite disconnected from his country. So it was kind of me that used art and found that to connect to culture and sort of bring that back to my family. It's been a very healing process, the entirety of it. Even just through me creating itself was a healing process, because it was something I always thought was out of reach for me, that I didn't do. I always had that in me. It was something I wanted to do. I did it in secret for a really long time. But I think when we lost Poppy Webb, who was kind of like the knowledge holder for our family, but he had a lot of pain that he didn't really touch on, that was when I was like, this has to be done. There's no choice now. And that voice got louder and louder, and I just started to hone in more and create more through that. For me, country's always found a way to find me where I am, which is really special. Whether it's hearing the black cockatoos call in the morning, or every time I step into that ocean and feel that connection to Dearubin and flowing back to country, it's always found its way to speak to me. When I think of the gully, I just hear the sound of the ancestors and those whispers that I hear, even they're like far away from the gully. The last time I visited the gully where my grandfather grew up on Darug, which is in the back of Katoomba, was the first time I ever felt the heaviness that a lot of my family had spoke about for a really long time. Every time I had been there, I'd never really felt that weight. It felt like this really sacred, beautiful place. I knew there was pain there, but I didn't have that weight yet until that last time I went, and it was the first time I'd ever been to the gully by myself. And I remember kind of walking through and feeling that gloom and that pressure inside my body. And I think for me, that was sort of a catalyst moment of healing, as well as it was for connecting to that part of my culture. And I remember sort of walking through, and we returned Poppy Webb's ashes out there, I think in 2018. And I was trying to find the spot where we had placed him, and there where it was a single red waratah growing. And I was just like, there it is. Country speaks, and that said a lot to me in that moment. Not just on presence of the ancestors, but of healing too. It was like there was so much pain and weight around me, but here was this like glowing blossom just popping out of the ground with such vibrancy. My process is pretty wacky. It kind of begins always with some form of meditation, just so I can drop into myself. Because for me, art ultimately, I don't create to tell a story, even though that's what I do. I create because it's listening. And how I listen is through that silence, and that's where country speaks, the ancestors speak. So that's the first point for me, is to drop into that listening, that stillness. From there, the images start to kind of pop into my mind, and I'll start a rough sketch. So these books are just all filled with rough sketches and ideas that have popped through. And then it's kind of waiting for the lightning to strike from there for me to actually sit down and put, whether it's paint to canvas or wood, which I like to use, or grabbing the Apple pen and going for the digital approach, because I don't often know which way it's going to go with that as well, having those different mediums that I do work with. Lately, I found it's definitely more the digital stuff. I think probably accessibility wise, it gives me that chance when the lightning strikes to quickly grab something and start working on something straight away. Also the freedom of it, I can work anywhere. If I want to be outside, I can work. If I want to be at the beach, I can work. It gives me that movement to take my art with me, which is really special to me. So my art just doesn't end with paintings and drawings. I quite often find once I've finished a piece that there's words that follow through with it. So poetry is definitely something that goes hand in hand with my work as well. So kind of each piece that I create almost has a poem that goes with it. And I'll either write it on the back of the piece or first put it on the piece and then paint over it is what I do a lot. So on the back of this one, painted underneath the painting, we have a poem I wrote based around the gully, which the gully was the back of Katoomba, the mission that was there where my grandfather grew up. They were forcibly removed from the land and they built Catalina Raceway. So this piece kind of speaks a little bit to that. A stop sign in the path of our ways, a speed bump in our identity. Sweet grasses that should never have been tarred, metal, metal, metal. Fast lane, scrap heap, land back. The gully will always have its way, and the Waratah sings that. I find myself always connecting to country, whether it's through meditation or just being. Like I said, my art process is so much about listening, but looking as well. And I'm so lucky to have the ocean just out there, and I live directly on what is known as the Humpback Highway. And so we get the whales come through on their northern migration and then have them return back through with their babies for the southern migration too. I made friends with some locals here who are whale watchers, and they basically spot the whales for the local whale watching boat and they're radioing them in, telling them where they are. And so on my days off, I go and sit with them on this rock known as the Office and watch the whales. And it's been such a beautiful way to connect with Darkinjung country and that Humpback Highway. Because it really is just like watching the ancestors in real time when you're seeing a whale. There's so much wisdom and so much knowledge there. So I'm often drawing whales and drawing inspiration from the ocean too, whether it's a morning swim, sitting by her. She speaks so much, and I think that's one of my biggest listenings.